y'all want to scoot over on it, you want, we can just leave this in honor of the absentee.
Just leave, yeah.
Yeah.
I will scoot
We don't
down
wanna
though.
tell that you're,
I hate
Yep.
this thing here. I'm always straddling it.
Yep.
Need you over here impatiently packing up your stuff in 20 minutes.
Huffing around. Yeah, I can
So
just
start
sort
saying,
of
come on.
gotta go eat, gotta go eat.
Watch.
under the breath. I'm good at that.
Yeah, look at your watch 14 times.
Good job.
See
Me, I know. Very
Uh,
distinct. Very distinct. Very distinct.
Mr. Driver.
Yeah.
More passenger.
I'm glad you're sitting there.
15 minutes.
Thanks. That's why you wouldn't let me see.
That's right.
I got it
I
now.
know.
I got it.
I owe you one for that.
But that was work to keep my seat. I like the corner. It's a good place, isn't it? You can see everybody.
Yep. And you stay out of the limelight when they take pictures.
Yes.
Well, I hope we go through this relatively quickly and not drag ourselves down. You never know.
I know.
But with John
It
not
seems
here,
quick.
with John not here, perhaps that would be the case.
Well, you're right. I'm surprised they're with you tonight. He must be somewhere. Obviously, it's somewhere, but
Yeah. No, but not here.
are you going to TML?
Well, with the NLC.
Oh,
Oh, that'll be fun.
Ann Arbor.
That'll be fun.
I've only been to two NLCs this year, so one that's out of
Where's this one?
Hey, actually, Tampa. John was there.
Fun.
I've never been to Tampa.
This
Sounds
That'd be an
good.
interesting
John B.
Yeah.
tour, I guess.
What's he?
Have you been there?
Mm-mm.
I've been to Orlando and Miami, but I've not been to Tampa. So
My
I went to
thing.
I was
an
standing in line
education
at a
conference in
restaurant.
Orlando
Yeah.
20 years ago. Yes. So I spent not quite like it.
Honestly, don't remember where I went there. I went there for a United Way conference. But it was right when I was starting, so it's been,
It's like, oh, my stepdad and mom live in Red Rock.
It was pretty.
Small world.
It is.
Man, that made Michigan look like it's pretty weird. That was awesome. I know, like, I knew they lost a lot of people, but like.
Unfortunately, Georgia will get an easy or
A lot of cheating.
Yeah.
A lot of cheating.
Alabama.
And, yeah, I think it was, I think it's a combination of two things. One team is not as good as, one team is getting better, the other one's getting worse. But where are they on the trajectory?
Yeah, November 30th.
You said that, you said that's, Tom's gonna be those are trajectories we don't know much about. We need 2 or 3 more data points.
Oh, absolutely.
At this rate, you're slated to.
Yeah,
It's a
but-
rivalry game.
And we won't know anything. Oh, it's time. Okay, good job.
it's time, David. Come on, David. Stay on top.
Good evening. Hope you're enjoying what everyone on Twitter is calling false fall. So nice and cool this morning. This afternoon was warm. We'll see what happens. My leaves are falling, so it's good. We're going to start this evening off with the Pledge of Allegiance to the U.S. flag led by Councilmember Dave Covington, followed by the pledge to the Texas flag led by Chief of Police Larry Berg, and then Craig will lead us in our invocation. If he would please rise.
Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Please pray with me. Father God, we come to you in Jesus' holy, precious name. Lord, we thank you for this place and for this wonderful fall weather. And Father, we thank you for the processors that have brought together the items that we will work on tonight. And Father, we desire that all of this in process and in product bring you nothing but honor and glory. And we thank you that we are in this place and your instruments in it. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right, we will call the September 10th meeting to order at 5:32. And first item on our agenda is public comments. If anyone wishes to address the council on any matter not on our agenda, now is the time to let us know. There being no public comments, we will move on to the next item, which is consent agenda. Items 3 through 9. I'll go ahead before I read them all. I'm going to go ahead and we'll pull items and 9, which are related to funds going to for the American Rescue Plan. And so we'll go and I'll pull those off and I'll read items 3 through 7. Item 3 is approving the minutes of the August 27th city meeting. Item 4 is appointments to the following boards and commissions. The Historic Preservation Board, we're reappointing TC. Is it Light? Okay. I want to say Light, but sometimes Ann West, and appointing Eric Urban to replace Tammy Baggerly. And on the Civil Service Commission, we're reappointing Jerry Samu. Item 5 is adopting a resolution approving negotiated settlement between Atmos City's Steering Committee to Energy Corporation Midtex Division regarding the company's 2024 rate review mechanism filing. Item 6 is authorizing the city manager to execute agreement Central Texas Council of Governments to continue funding for the volunteer coordinator position for the Belton Police Department Senior Adult Outreach Program. And item 7 is authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with Flixbus for the option of a bus stop for Greyhound lines. If anyone wishes to pull one of those or more of those, let us know. If not, the chair would entertain a motion.
I move we approve the consent agenda items 3 through 7.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt item 7. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, so items 3 through 7 are pass 6-0. 8 is a resolution reallocating funding received from the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds, a part of the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, to certain projects in response to the COVID-19 public health emergency.
Thank you,
Ms.
Member
Wilson.
Early and council members. Appreciate it.
Welcome
very
back.
much. Thank you. Appreciate it. Glad to be back. These two items relate to the allocation of federal funding through the ARPA funding provided to the city in 2021. Let's go through these really. Item number 8 is a resolution that reallocates the ARPA funding that we talked about at the last council meeting. You may recall that after some discussion, we made a recommendation to you to reallocate the available dollars, $90,000 to United Way of Central Texas to Belton residents needing help with housing, rent, and utilities. This is the portion of that funding that has to be spent by the end of this calendar year, by December 31st. We also identified $385,000 in earned interest income. That funding has no time or use limitations. And as we talked about last time, the council appointed a subcommittee to make recommendations to the in October, and we'll bring that back to you at that particular point in time. So the item number 8 is the resolution reallocating that $90,000 formally tonight. And if you'd like, I'll go ahead and do number 9 as well, and we can vote on them.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and read that. Item 9 is authorizing the city manager to execute a memorandum of understanding between the United Way of Central Texas and the city of Belton regarding allocating the 2000 American Rescue Plan Act funds for utility and housing assistance for Belton residents.
So this will be a specific MOU between United Way of Central Texas and the city regarding that $90,000. There are some conditions that are recommended as a part of that MOU. The assistance would be available to City of Belton residential applicants only. This would be for one-time assistance with a $3,000 cap. The assistance again would be for housing, utilities, and rent. We would look for a report from United Way by early December to ensure that all that money has been spent. If there is any left over, we can deal with that at that point in time with that last council meeting in December. But we have all the assurances that the funding will be certainly spent by that point in time. That was the reason for the designation to you. There is a proposal for a 10% fee for administration, $90,000. That would be $9,000 to United Way. And as a result of that, then we would recommend approval of the MOU and authorization for the city manager to execute that. And I'll answer any questions you might have.
All right, so we've read both of those motions in Sam's presented, so if you guys have any questions on those or would like to make a motion on either one, or starting it with 8.
You're recusing
Huh?
yourself? Are you recusing yourself?
I am abstaining from vote.
Yeah,
Thank
for-
you.
yeah,
Plan
yes.
to abstain.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, at vote time, Stephanie being director president
For 3 more days. Yeah.
for 3 more days. Yes. Yeah. United Way Central Texas.
If the money's not spent by December 6th, then we have to spend that money before the end of the year. Is that
We
correct?
do. Correct.
To them doesn't satisfy.
No, no, it has to be spent.
Interesting.
But again, I think we have all the assurances that with the demand out there for those types of issues, we have a good time period. Understand from the executive director that they're ready to go and we're ready to go. We had experience of doing this the last time. So again, the need is there and we feel like there should be no problem at all in ensuring that that money gets out the door and meets the needs of the community.
I think this is I move to approve item 8 as presented.
Second,
I also move to approve item 9 as presented.
second, item 9.
All right. We have a motion to accept items 8 and 9, making the council very efficient. Would anyone have any comments before we?
I just appreciate the way that the staff does work with United Way from the very beginning of the ARPA funds. I think we've done a really excellent job working with the Chamber of Commerce and local citizens. I'm proud of the way we've handled that money.
Yeah, it's a great partnership and and especially this time of year between now and Thanksgiving and leading into Christmas, I guarantee you those funds will come in handy. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, so it passes 5 with 1 abst.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. All right. The reason we get elected, pass a budget. Item 10 is consider ordinance adopting Belton's strategic plan, fiscal year 2025 to 2029. Mr. Listy?
Really, Mayor, no additional comments. We've presented this item to you as background and then certainly in the public hearings and the other issues. We've had it on the website for quite some time. And so we certainly recommend approval. It's adopting the strategic plan for the next 5 years.
All right. Well, the chair would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve item 10 as presented.
We have a motion and a second to adopt Belton's strategic plan. Any comments? I will make one comment. I've had several people in the last few weeks really talk about Belton and how it's changed since 20 years ago, especially in downtown. And so again, it doesn't happen on accident. It happens on purpose, and strategic planning is a big part of that. So thank you to the staff for doing this.
Mr. Mayor, I think continuity in that along the lines and the fact that it just continues to be looked at every year, but to build upon itself and then to be the basis for the budget and the dollars that are spent and allocated appropriately, I think it's done better here than any place else I know.
Yeah. All right. All in favor for adopting the strategic plan, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Item 11 is consider an ordinance adopting the city's Belton fee and rate schedule for fiscal year 2025. Ms. Casey.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I've presented this to you twice. I'll be glad to do it a third time if you would like. Otherwise, there were no changes from the last time presented. Recommend that you adopt the ordinance establishing the fees and rates for FY25.
All right. Any questions or the chair would entertain a motion?
Move to approve item 11 as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item 11. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, item 12, conduct a public hearing on the fiscal year 2025, tax year 2024, proposed ad valorem tax of 0.5225 cents or $0.5225 per 100 of taxable value, which is effectively a 1.75% increase in the tax rate. This, I need to read all that stuff, right?
You don't have
I don't have to. Okay, well, it's bold and underlined, but I'll leave it as it is.
Great sadness and a lot of sarcasm.
Yeah.
I can't believe we made it here. We're finally here to adopt the budget. After our journey began February the 1st, Pam reminded me of
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
A lot of months, a lot of hard work, from my staff, bring this to you, and I'm gonna have a beer after this.
So just 4 more
So
months
let's
before
talk
we
first
turn
about
here.
taxes.
Was that a tear I saw at the corner of your eye?
So city council proposed a tax rate of 52.25 cents per $100 of value for tax year 2024, which is our fiscal 2025. That's a little more than 1 cent less than last year's tax rate of 53.26. That rate does exceed new revenue tax of 51.35, but it's lower than a voter approval at 52.60. That's why we have to have this public hearing tonight. So I want to take you to that. You've seen that before, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. Two things of note is our property values again increased by 8.42% to just over $2.3 billion. The tax rate of 52.25 brings in $730,000 additional levy for the city as a whole. And the effect of that tax rate on the taxpayer, the average home value increased by 8.39% to $296,559. The 52.25 rate would, that taxpayer would pay $93 more than than the average taxpayer did last year. But the interesting thing is, so when we compare our proposed tax rate to our surrounding cities, the city of Belton is the only one that went down that much. Belton ISD, they went down just slightly, essentially flat. All of the other cities, taxing entities on this page anyway, increased their tax rate. Two of those over 3 cents, and the others 1.3 cents. Everybody else has adopted their. Only the two that have not is Belton and Harker Heights. I believe Harker Heights is meeting tonight to adopt their rate. So with this table, you can see how we compare to our kind of surrounding cities. What we always like to do is compare our total tax rate to our neighbors to the north. With the taxing entities here for the city of Belton residents, it's $2.01 compared to $2.33. Total tax rate for the city of Temple residents. This is a public hearing, so we need to open to public comments.
All right. This being a public hearing, we will close our deliberations and open the floor for public comments on the proposed ad valorem tax rate, 52.25 cents per hundred. Anyone wishes to make a comment? All right. If this was Nextdoor app or something on Facebook, there would be lots of comments starting out with "you people." So
Yeah.
I wish those people would come here to talk about you people. So again, we'll close the floor and then reopen deliberations or approving the tax rate, whatever you would.
We have to go.
Oh,
through some
that was
items.
I'm sorry, that was the public.
That was the
hearing.
public hearing.
Right. Item 13 is the one where we ratify. Okay. Item 13, ratify the increase in total property tax revenue as reported in the fiscal year 2025 annual budget for the city of Belton. It will raise more revenue. And then all the other bold underlined stuff. Do I need to read that?
No.
As well? Okay.
No, sir. Okay, so the fiscal year 2025 annual budget incorporates an increase to total property tax revenue in the amount of $739,330 based upon a tax rate of 52.25 cents per $100 of taxable. When adopting a budget that raises more property tax revenue than the previous year, the Texas Local Government Code requires a separate vote governing body to ratify the property tax increase that is reflected in the budget. Staff recommends ratification of the increase in total property tax revenue that's reflected in the fiscal 25 budget.
All right. We've gone through the budget since February, so we are familiar with it. If you have any comments or questions, or chair would entertain a motion.
On which item?
Item 13.
13.
12 doesn't get them.
It was a
No.
public hearing.
That was public hearing only.
Super confused by the order of these. And again, I'm going to clarify, ratify or budget with that revenue amount before we deliberate tax rate.
Correct.
Which-
The local government code. Okay, well, I won't get into that. Yes, is the budget. It's the budget that determines your tax rate, which is why you have to adopt your tax rate prior to adopting your budget. And the ratification that we're doing now is actually a budget item. It's in 102 of the local government code, as opposed to chapter 26 of the tax code. So it's a budget item. This
Yeah,
is,
the simple answer is yes. We
I'm
need to
more
ratify.
confused because you just said we have to ratify our tax rate before the budget.
tax revenue. This
Oh,
is all
revenue.
revenue, and this is not tax rate.
Well, I'll make an emotion to approve 13, which ratifies the increase in total profit as
Thank you.
presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to ratify the increase in property tax revenue as presented in the fiscal year 2025 budget. Any other comments or questions? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, passes unanimously. I'll wait till after. No, I'll go ahead and say it. I did a little analysis of our historical tax rates and revenue from our neighbors. And Belton was one of the higher tax rates in the county 20 years ago, if not the highest. And we've now become the lowest. So again, that doesn't happen on accident. That is something that's been, and like Craig said, continuity. The councils that we've had over the last 25 years or so are very hard for efficient government. So I just wanted to thank the staff. I know you guys don't hear that a lot. Citizens don't recognize it. Guys make this all possible. Thanks for all the work that you guys do. So just
Thank
needed
you.
to say that. All right. Item 14 is consider an ordinance adopting the fiscal year 2025 annual budget for the city of Belton. This budget will raise more revenue from property taxes than last year's budget by $739,330, which is a 6.36% increase.
Thank you, Mayor. We presented the proposed budget to council on July the 9th of 2024. Having held a public hearing and ratified the increase in property tax revenue tonight, the budget is ready to be adopted. As submitted, the budget includes total resources of $50,903,660 and expenditures of $48,666,680. Texas Local Government Code requires a record vote for council to adopt the budget, and staff recommends approval.
All right, any questions for Mr. Rogers? All right, this being a recorded vote, we will do roll call. So Ms. Casey. Oh, we do need a motion. Thank you. Appreciate it. I was so focused on roll call. So, and there's a suggested legal way to make this motion in your packet. Someone would like to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve item 14, and I don't see what you're referencing, but I'll just read it.
Yeah,
Special
my
language.
packet's different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Special.
Okay, I got it. Okay,
Yep.
I didn't have that part up here.
Yeah.
I'll make to approve item 14. I move that we adopt the fiscal year 2025 annual budget as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the fiscal year 2025 annual budget as presented. Any other comments or questions? All in favor? Oh, no. This is where Amy
Councilmember
comes in.
Carpenter,
Aye.
Councilmember O'Banion,
Aye.
Councilmember Pearson,
Aye.
Councilmember Covington,
Aye.
Councilmember Booker,
Aye.
and Mayor Lee.
Aye. Right. Passes unanimously, 6-0. Item 15, consider an ordinance adopting the 2024 ad valorem tax rate not to exceed 52.25 cents per hundred of taxable value. This tax rate will raise more taxes for maintenance and operations than last year's rate by effect 2.74%.
Thank you, Mayor. Management recommends a tax rate of 52.25 cents per $100 of taxable value. There's two components to that tax rate. The rate for paying debt service is 5.74 cents. The maintenance and operations component is 46.15 cents, bringing the total to 52.25. because this rate is above the no new revenue rate of 51.35. At least 60% of the governing body, or 5 of you, must vote in the affirmative to pass. If you fail to vote to pass a budget by September 30, the default rate becomes the lower of the no new revenue rate or last year's rate. So the default rate would be 51.35. Management recommends approval, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Or if someone wishes to make the motion.
I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of $0.5225, which is effectively a 1.75% increase in the tax rate.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Before I say
It's
it,
gone.
Well, okay, motion and a second
Second.
to adopt that. Now, do you have any,
yeah, I just wanted to make a mention that to our compadre who's not here, who would probably bring up a much thorough discussion. I do know there's some projects in here that me as a former Parks member are included in this rate in this budget, and so that's the reason I'd like to see this. But I do want to echo David's comments about working super hard to get these rates as low as possible, and then Wayne's always the voice in my other ear that's we have some unknowns coming, and so that's why I feel comfortable with where we're at, just for the public to know kind of what we go through and stuff like that. So
right, thank you. Any other comments? Yeah, I'll make my comment here, and this is a legal matter. We are required, because we are recording more revenue because of increased appraised values. So market has increased. The state legislature wants to make sure that everyone knows that they're not increasing your taxes. The local municipalities are the ones increasing your taxes. And so they put in the law that if you do go up tax revenue, you go up in the tax revenue, you have to say you're going up on your tax rate. There's a difference between revenue and rate. Our tax rate went down. Our appraised values went up. And so therefore, you're effectively collecting more taxes than we did last year because of appraised values. And so while legally it's saying that we have a 1.75% increase tax rate, that is not accurate, but it is legal. So you'll print something in the press. Being in the government doesn't mean you need to be accurate to be legal. Think about that. So I needed to say that. Belton ISD said the same thing because they also on their rate, and they were forced to say that they went up on their rate because they're the ones collecting the state's taxes.
And it's relevant to note that the increase in appraised value includes the new property. That doesn't mean that it's just the old property that went up in value. It includes the new property as well, which is a big component of where the extra revenue came from here.
Yep. Anyway, I just wanted to say that. And any other comments or questions? All right. Sorry, I just had to get that off my chest. So, all right. All in favor? Oh, roll calls. Yes, Ms. Casey.
Councilmember Carpenter,
Aye.
Councilmember O'Banion,
Aye.
Councilmember Pearson,
Aye.
Councilmember Covington,
Aye.
Councilmember Booker,
aye.
Mayor Lee.
Aye. All right. Vented. Item 16, consider authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with American Medical Response Ambulance Service, AMR, for the provision of emergency medical services within the city. Mr. Fontenot.
Mayor Lee, I'm at a meeting. I'm going to
Right.
an 8th grade Belton Middle School football game.
Yeah.
Awesome. Enjoy.
Hope trust y'all to handle the rest of this without me.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Mayor, council, it's that time of year again. It seems like just a year ago, but it's actually been 2 years to renew our contract with AMR, our partners in EMS. We're very excited to bring this to you. Just a little bit of history. Back in October of 2019, Belton Fire Department in the city of Belton was going through what many fire department that provide EMS are going through currently. And that's staffing issues, overtime rates and other things that allowed us to explore some alternatives. And we contracted with AMR back in October of 2019 to help solve that issue. Current contract was implemented in 2022 and ends on September 30th of this year. The new contract would start on October 1 of this year and end 26, September 30, 26. It does have two-year renewal options. Talking to Sam about renewal options, we really feel every 2 years to sit down and renegotiate and come to some alternative ways of evaluating performance is important. So we're going to continue trying to renew the contract every 2 years instead of just a renewal. We're going to try to redo it every 2 years. Some of the rates have gone up over the last couple of years, which is industry standards. Byron is here to answer any questions. He's the chief of EMS for this region, and he can explain the way the rates go up and how they're calculated much more than I can. Currently, AMR will continue to house 2 ambulances, one at Station 1 and one at Station 2. They do pay $800 per station per month for their base space and their living quarters. They will be the sole provider for EMS in the incorporated city limits. They'll maintain a mutual aid agreement to ensure that services is that. They'll provide ALS, advanced work crews and ambulances, and they'll follow the medical directives that is set by the city of Belton's medical director. Their standards have changed a little bit, so it's important for you guys to understand the reasoning behind that. Currently, the contract says that they should average 7.5 minutes for any Belton units responding inside of Belton. Well, their regions have changed a little bit. We're on a regional approach with Temple and the rest of the county. So we wanted to ensure that our citizens were taken care of. So we didn't want to just calculate the Belton trucks responding to Belton. We wanted to calculate any trucks responding to Belton. So we changed that contract language up. So we are going to hold them to a standard to average 7.5 minutes inside the city. Now, there is an example or exemption to that. There's a 10 minutes down 14 and down 35. If you take a look at, and I think it's in part of your packet, if you look at our fire district maps, those are the outlining areas on Highway 14 and 35. We're allowing a 10-minute average response time to, which we think is appropriate. They will also participate in any disaster drills or real world effort and bring in a lot of resources for that. And they will provide their own billing and collections. We meet, Byron and I meet monthly, and we always go over their response time, make sure that we're doing our part, meeting that first responder obligation, but they're also doing the best to meet their part. So we get reports and we review those. If I were to say Byron and I talk weekly, that was probably an understatement. It's probably more like once or twice a week. But we have a very close relationship when it comes to making sure that Belton's taken care of. Belton is going to continue to provide communication services, first responder on priority 1 calls. We'll continue to monitor and track the performances, and we'll supply EMS with sleeping quarters, eating quarters, working areas, space. In 2022, in district, that means inside of Belton, there was 2,431 calls, and then outside of Belton, there was 1,139 calls. They met that 7.5 minutes, 68% of the time. And then in 23, the call volume, in-district call volume almost didn't change, which is kind of unique. 2,453 calls, and then their out-of-district calls went down a little bit to 979. And they 71% of the time they met that 7.5. What we're predicting is those numbers will get better now that we separated the 14 and 35 district, because those longer response times are down that average. So for those reasons, staff recommends city council also authorize a city manager to execute the contract with AMR to provide EMS services.
All right. Any comments or questions, or chair would entertain a motion?
I move we authorize the city manager to execute an agreement with AMR for the provision of emergency medical services within the city of Belton.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the city man, or authorize the city manager to execute the agreement with AMR. The only comment I'd say is 2 years ago, this was quite controversial.
Yeah.
And I would say after 2 years, been a great experiment. And I want to thank you and AMR, because I've seen your employees at local restaurants representing the city of Belton well. And so I've not seen personally any issue with them. So any other comments before we vote? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes 5-0.
Thanks, chief.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Chief. And finally, receive a presentation and discuss the results of the City of Belton Strategic Communications Assessment. All right, Matt.
Absolutely.
And-
Mayor, Council, appreciate you all very much for getting to this item. This is one that we're very excited about. This kind of kicked off over the last couple of years. We've discussed what are some of the needs that we have through marketing, through communications, and that ever evolving field. And earlier this spring, we had a meeting. Councilmember O'Banion was involved with that as well. It's just a kind of what do we need, and it kind of became apparent to really have someone come and look at what we're doing, how we're doing it, and formalize a report. And that is in their world called a communications audit. That was undertaken. We're all part. A lot of you participated in that, as well as staff members here and stakeholders within the community. And so it's a pleasure for me to introduce Tom Bryson. He was VPs with Cooksey. He very decorated, but about 4 decades in this game. Really knows his stuff and really was helpful and his crew were very diligent at meeting all the measures kind of going through. And I think you'll be excited to hear. And then ultimately at the end, we'll bring up Paul. Paul's got some updates to share on stuff we're already doing now. The report's hot off the press and we're already implementing a number of the measures that Tom's going to talk about. So without further ado, I'll let Tom jump in.
Mayor and Council, good evening. I gotta say, after my early years as a reporter, 3 decades as a municipal communications director, and the last 4 years or so as a consultant, I've been in and out of councils for about 40 years, and I've never been to one where everybody's in such a good mood. I hope to keep that going. We really appreciate the invitation to be here and the opportunity to participate in this process with you. I've been doing these kinds of examinations for quite a while now. And honestly, I've never been to a city where everyone embraced the process enthusiastically, as has been done here in Belton. So just by way of an overview, it was April of this year when the city contacted us at Cooksey to conduct a communications assessment of materials, processes, and with the intent to generate a third-party candid review of the department, its how it works, and more importantly, what works, what maybe doesn't, and how to make it better going forward. It's always intended to be a constructive process. I think we've been able to succeed at that. I know the report is included in your packet. It's pretty detailed, but I think we hit a lot of the areas that we were looking to talk about. The process involved evaluation of operations, resources, technology, interviews with internal and external stakeholders. That's really key. That's one of the most instructive parts of all of this. We did a community survey of residents' communication preferences. That's meant to be a splash look, just kind of a taste of what people think and how they prefer to receive their communication. One of the big pieces of it is benchmarking, and we went out and got benchmarking information from the city of Anna, city of Bedford, Burleson, Colleyville, and Georgetown. All were very receptive to our inquiry and gave us a lot of good information that is also detailed in our report. We took a look at gaps and opportunities, and then finally offered recommendations that are going to help guide the future growth and direction of how this department needs to move forward. The interviews, we made it clear to everyone that we don't want to report who said what, but a lot of what was the conversation, what was that like, and many of the takeaways here were simply that messaging needs to be consistent. There's a theory that we call one voice, that the city needs to speak with a singular authority. That city staff sometimes struggles to connect with both younger and older audiences, and maybe a little more emphasis could be placed there. Crisis comms, largely acceptable, but could be room for improvement. A lot of people remarked that they found the website difficult to navigate. And we think using the website as your digital front door can help bolster a lot of that productivity. Forms can be difficult to find, but residents express their deep appreciation for the small town feel of everything about Belton, and particularly the communications that come from the city. And people noted to us that departmental communication tends to be decentralized. Now, that's not unusual in a smaller municipal organization. However, so long as there is a central oversight of all communications coming out from different departments, that can help bolster the activity. Key takeaways. We believe your incumbent director does very good work, but that staffing over time is needed to help bolster that effort and provide a more strategic approach to communications. The functions across departments should be subject to oversight by your director. That's not to say that your director is the gatekeeper, not to say that director is responsible for proofing every little bit of everything that goes out, but the director should have functional oversight of everything that happens and be in position to make suggestions, recommendations, whatever the case may be, that's going to further that one voice theory. Formal policies need bolstering, and we suggest consider adding policies about general communications processes and or policy manual, spokesperson policy, branding guidelines, logo usage, photography and filming, and especially right now, AI. Artificial intelligence is something I know we're doing a lot of research at the agency on. AI is suddenly exploding on the horizon, particularly in communications. It is right now where social media seemed to be 20 years ago, something that's coming at us fast and furious, and something that a lot of people haven't been able to put a policy in place for yet. And that's important to get a handle on it before it grows out of proportion. And then content planning really is the key to a strategic approach. There are certain things that are going to happen year round that you know are coming up at various times of year. Planning for that content and social media, website, e-news, whatever the case may be. There are one happen throughout the year. Those will populate that calendar as we go as well. But if there's a content calendar in place that all departments have access to, the more cohesive the message is going to be. Like I mentioned, your main website should be your digital front door. We understand from the survey responses and from a lot of people we talk to that Facebook gets a lot of traffic, and that's good. It should. However, we believe that everything should drive to the website. Everything from e-news to social media should drive to the website as the final place people can go to find out news and information about city activities, services, and events. Maximize those internal and external partnerships to help amplify messages, those partnerships with community groups, Chamber of Commerce, ISD, make sure those are all in place. E-newsletter. As much as people enjoy hard copy newsletters these days, still, I know in many cities that we work with, there are a lot of folks that say they really still want to have that tangible piece of paper in their hands. E-news can be a much more timely way get information out. And we believe the e-newsletter that the city puts out needs to be expanded and capitalized on in that manner. And you have a sizable balance in PEG funding right now that is not being used at all. I think that a legal opinion on what that can and cannot be used for is probably warranted. The survey, heavy emphasis on Facebook and the main website. Non-city sourced information comes a lot from social media, as well as local TV news, the Belton Journal and the Temple Daily Telegram. But overall satisfaction with city communications on a scale of 5 ranked just shy of 4. So, I mean, it's satisfied, but room to move, which is good news. So the bottom line, we believe that this department working in and for a city as storied as Belton can benefit from a refresh that is aided by the of staff over time, greater attention to content planning and messaging oversight, attention to driving information traffic to and through the main website, the expansion of that e-newsletter, and amplification of messaging through these partnerships in the community. That will result in an invigorated department that plans strategically and proactively, not reactively. What I said to a lot of people on a lot of occasions, having done this job for 3 decades in a couple of different cities in North Texas, I know it's very easy to fall into the habit of running from task to task without a lot of time to plan strategically or proactively. We believe implementation of a lot of these regulations will help your department do that. We'll be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. This is just a presentation and so discussion. So any questions?
Is there a city in the area that you feel like does a truly exemplary job of, we could kind of look at their website, just maybe steal an idea or two?
Oh, that's one of the best things to do. And one of the things that we highly recommend at our state and national associations is steal as many good ideas as you can wherever you can get them. Temple does a very good job at their communications department. I would suggest back in our report in the benchmarking, there's a number of good cities that do the job really, really well. And Paul can also give you a lot of pointers that we have from other cities that we communicate with regularly in closed social media groups of people that do the comms job. So there's a lot of good work out there to emulate.
Thank you.
How much did Matt pay you to say that about Tim?
Checks in the mail.
Paul, would you like to make a few comments?
First, just I think it's important to note for David Tuma's purposes that the Belton Journal was more popular than the Telegram in that survey.
That's pretty awesome.
I mean, it really is a week out a daily. So Mayor and council members, I'll just say in about 6 weeks, I'll have been here for 13 years.
Oh
Wow.
my gosh.
How did that? I know.
Yes, fantastic.
Shocking, isn't it? So, and I'll say that,
You had long hair at that time, right? So you and me both.
yes, it's lost a few hairs over the years, but yes, I'll have been here 13 years, and it's been a pleasure to serve this council and these residents. And nothing in this report was really surprising or shocking to me. I just want to express appreciation for Tom and his team. Super professional. They did what they said they were going to do when they said they were going to do it, and I think they brought back a report that's really helpful. It's if you look at up here, so we've already gotten to work. We've had it about 2 weeks, I think, the final copy. So we're implementing things already. One of the things mentioned was, hey, new residents to your community can't find your library on their social media pages because of the Lena Armstrong name. So while the Lena Armstrong will still be on the physical library, we pulled the name off of Facebook and Instagram so that anybody that's coming can actually find our library on social media. That was a low hanging fruit that we just said, we can make this change. Content calendar, it's in Teams, it's available to the social media committee. They've been briefed and notified about that. I meet with them on a monthly basis. So on Thursday, we're going to go in and look at that content calendar and start to access that and plan. So that's one of the items that we've done as well. The PEG opinion, we've contacted TML and talked to their legal department and gotten some information from them. They've given us a name of an attorney, a firm that we can seek out and get a legal opinion. So that process has started. Some of the other takeaways, I'll say that the e-newsletter, think it's a phenomenal idea. It takes some time to implement that, figure out how we're going to roll it out, and some logistics on the back end. It's part of my goals for next year. The professional associations, I've been a part of the Texas Association of Municipal Information Officers now for the entire 13 years, and then a national organization as well. And I served for 5 years on their awards committee. So I've gotten some pretty good experience through that professional association. And, in discussions with Matt, we feel like in our situation, our staff that are on the social media committee, that they get more involved in these associations. So we are bringing them in, and we've added 3 staff members, Tamio already. We're considering bringing them to conference here. And so we're moving in that direction to help the other people that are involved in social media to have that experience rubbing shoulders with other really great professionals in the state. Website, agree with, everything that was there. We've made some minor tweaks based on feedback from the survey, but we will do more this coming year. As far as social media oversight, Sam and Matt have been great over the years. I've had free reign of social media for a long, long time, and I work with everybody that has social media. The challenge there is time. So if there's oversight not being done, it's because my attention is at things elsewhere that need to be addressed in a more timely manner. So, and then staffing, that's something for you guys to consider next year. But I'll just add that the way that I view this report is that it's filled with really small things that can easily be implemented, but that as we implement those small and simple things, that it can have in the future is really, really significant. And if there's one thing I'll leave you with today, I think that's it. This is comprehensive report filled with a lot of great information. We're taking it seriously. We're adjusting things and trying to make our communications better, but we feel like it will be markedly improved in the coming years because we're doing those small and simple things.
So thank you. Any other questions? I'll just echo what I've already said. It's better. We are all going to get somewhere sometime. It's better to get there on purpose than on accident. And this is a great step. I think that's it's really good. Looking forward to the output that you guys have. The only question I have is, as we start looking at broadening our e-newsletter, typically that's an email form. Our other emails could then suffer spam, because if we start hitting a lot of bad addresses or something from a lot more emails, then your email or our domain name could get blacklisted. I'm assuming we would look at like Constant Contact or some third party to help distribute that so that the city doesn't get, anyway, I don't know.
So we right now, Robley already for the Belton news that you get.
Yep.
So we're already using Robley.
Okay.
We would just, ramp up that.
yeah, I've got several organizations I'm tied to that I stopped getting their emails and I realized they amped up their email communications and it put them on a blacklist. So, all right. There'd be no action, no motions to be made. We will stand adjourned at 6:22 p.m.